The Boeing 787 cut smoothly through the night sky, 37,000 feet above the Atlantic. Passengers settled into their seats, some dozing, others immersed in glowing screens or hushed conversations. Flight attendants rolled carts down the aisle, offering warm drinks and small comforts to ease the hours of crossing between continents. The pilot, Captain Harris, sat in the cockpit with his co-pilot, exchanging light banter while monitoring instruments that rarely wavered from their steady lines. It was supposed to be an ordinary flight from London to New York, one of hundreds performed each day. Nothing unusual, nothing remarkable. Yet, on row 14, a woman named Elena Moreau quietly stared out the window, her eyes reflecting not just the faint shimmer of stars, but something harder to define. She was calm, almost too calm, as if the monotony of air travel never touched her nerves. But monotony shattered in an instant. A sudden shout cracked through the cabin, followed by the metallic click of a weapon being cocked. Panic rose like a wave. 3 men dressed in dark jackets stormed the aisle, one holding a handgun, another a knife, and the third carrying what appeared to be an improvised explosive strapped to his chest. Gasps erupted. Children cried. The elderly clutched their armrests as fear spread faster than any turbulence. The leader barked orders in a thick accent, demanding silence. His voice shook with adrenaline, but his eyes burned with fanatic purpose. He shouted that the aircraft was under their control, that they had demands, and that if anyone resisted, blood would follow. From the cockpit, Captain Harris heard the commotion. His pulse raced. Through the reinforced door camera, he saw the chaos erupting. Passengers froze, trembling, whispering prayers. But amid the chaos, one image unsettled him most: the woman in seat 14A. Unlike the others, she did not break down. She didn't cry or raise her hands in frantic obedience. Instead, she sat upright, eyes steady, watching the terrorists with unnerving composure. "Who is she?" Harris muttered to his co-pilot, bewildered by her stillness. Inside the cabin, Elena Moreau's breathing slowed deliberately, almost like meditation. While the hijackers barked at the flight attendants to bind the crew and ordered passengers to keep their heads down, she quietly observed every detail: the weight of the gun, the rhythm of their movements, the way the supposed bomb carrier flinched whenever his leader raised his voice. Her mind ticked, not with panic, but calculation. She knew fear could paralyze a crowd, but calmness could carve space for opportunity. And opportunity was what she was waiting for. The terrorists forced a flight attendant to relay demands to the cockpit. They wanted the aircraft diverted, the authorities alerted, and their political message broadcast to the world. The leader slammed his hand on a seatback and shouted about revenge, oppression, and recognition. His words rolled into the cabin like poison, suffocating already fragile hope. Passengers cowered, whispering final messages to loved ones into their phones before the hijackers demanded all devices be surrendered. But Elena didn't move. She slid her phone into her jacket pocket, unnoticed, as though the shadows favored her. The leader noticed her calmness eventually. He walked toward her, suspicion narrowing his eyes. "You!" he hissed, pointing the pistol at her face. "Why do you not tremble? Why do you not cry like the others?" Every gaze in the cabin turned toward her. The world seemed to hold its breath. Elena's lips curved faintly. "Because I have seen worse than you." Her tone wasn't defiant enough to provoke violence, nor submissive enough to please him. It was something else, something that unsettled. The leader sneered, barked a warning, and moved on. Yet the unease lingered. Captain Harris, still watching through the cockpit feed, couldn't shake it. Who was she? What made her so unshaken when everyone else crumbled? Hours bled into tension. The terrorists rotated shifts, watching passengers, threatening crew, keeping the cabin under tight control. Fear thickened, but Elena's serenity became a quiet beacon. Several passengers began drawing courage from her presence, steadying their breath whenever their eyes found hers. Even the flight attendants, trembling as they obeyed orders, glanced toward her as if silently asking for guidance. Inside her mind, Elena was building a plan. She had been trained for scenarios like this, though no one around her knew it. Once, years ago, she had served as an undercover intelligence officer, specializing in counter-terror operations. She had walked away from that world after losing comrades, vowing to live a quiet life. But fate or chance had placed her here on this night, 37,000 feet above the ocean, when her past refused to stay buried. When the terrorists ordered food and water distributed, Elena volunteered to help the flight attendants. Her calm tone, her steady hands made her appear harmless. She moved through the aisles, all the while cataloging their weapons, gauging distances, noticing blind spots. The leader let her assist, believing her composure might keep passengers docile. But Elena was measuring time, waiting for the exact crack in their armor. In the cockpit, Captain Harris whispered to his co-pilot, "That woman, she's not just another passenger. Look at her, she's planning something." "Or she's insane," the co-pilot muttered. But Harris's gut told him otherwise. Something about her carried the weight of unspoken history. The breaking point came when the bomb carrier, sweating, nervous and twitching, moved too close to her. She caught a glimpse of the device. Her trained eye recognized it wasn't a real explosive. Wires jumbled without proper connections, a bluff wrapped in fear. Her lips tightened. That was the weakness. The entire operation rested on fear, not capability. And she knew fear could be turned inside out. The hours dragged, but Elena's resolve crystallized. When the leader forced Captain Harris to announce over the intercom that the flight was under terrorist control, Elena rose. Slowly, deliberately, she walked toward the leader. Gasps rippled through the cabin. The pistol snapped toward her again. "Sit down," he shouted. Her voice cut through like steel. "Your bomb is fake. You are not as powerful as you want us to believe." Silence detonated. Passengers gawked. Even the nervous bomb carrier faltered, eyes widening in terror, not at her words, but at being exposed. The leader whipped toward him, rage flashing. In that split second of distraction, Elena moved. Years of dormant training surged alive. She seized a metal coffee pot from the service cart and slammed it into the leader's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. The cabin erupted. Screams, shouts, chaos. She dove low, kicking the weapon under a row of seats as the bomb carrier panicked, clutching his vest, stammering that he never wanted this. Another hijacker lunged with a knife, but passengers, emboldened by Elena's defiance, swarmed him. The dam of fear shattered, and collective courage poured through. Elena wrestled with the leader, her movements sharp and calculated. She twisted his arm, slammed him into an armrest, and pinned him with a seatbelt strap she had ripped loose. The co-pilot, hearing the chaos, unlocked the cockpit door just enough for a flight attendant to pass the secured pistol inside. The aircraft suddenly tilted slightly as Harris steadied it, voice calm but firm. "Hold on. We've got this." Within minutes, the terrorists were subdued, bound by seatbelts, restrained by passengers, watched by attendants gripping whatever makeshift weapons they'd found. Elena stood over them, chest heaving, eyes unyielding. She looked less like a passenger and more like a soldier who had carried this weight before. The passengers erupted into applause, tears flowing, voices trembling with gratitude. Some hugged her, others simply whispered prayers of thanks. Children clung to their parents, eyes wide with awe at the woman who had turned terror into hope. When the plane finally landed under emergency escort in New York, the world was already watching. News crews captured passengers spilling out, some still crying, others raising fists of triumph. Cameras zoomed in on Elena as she descended the stairs, her face streaked with exhaustion, but her posture unbroken. Reporters shouted questions. "Who are you? How did you stay calm? How did you stop them?" Elena said little. Just one sentence, quiet but powerful. "Fear only controls us if we let it." Within hours, her name flooded headlines. The woman who had stared down terrorists at 37,000 feet. The woman who had seen through the lies, acted with precision, and inspired passengers to fight back. Governments praised her, intelligence agencies whispered about her past, and millions across the globe replayed her story as proof that courage still lived in the most unlikely places. Captain Harris, giving his statement later, shook his head in wonder. "I've flown for 25 years. I've seen storms, failures, near disasters. But what I saw that night was something else. A woman who stayed calm when the world broke apart. and whose next move stunned us all. And so, Elena Moreau, once a ghost of forgotten operations, became the name the world would remember, not just for saving a flight, but for reminding humanity that courage, when it appears, can turn fear into history.